Hello and welcome back. This video is a bit different, but it is a completion of the which gacha game actually fits your playstyle. If you have not watched that video, you should go check it out. But this time we're being honest. Gacha games are built to test your patience, your luck, and sometimes your wallet. And that's the most important thing. They can be fun, addictive, frustrating, and extremely rewarding all at the same time. Some games are pretty fair to free-to-play players, some are not, and some games feel so aggressive that it feels like they are designed to specifically remind you that you are in fact broke. So today I want to name some of the most popular gacha games by how F2P friendly they actually are. A little disclaimer, I'm not going to be ranking these in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not going to talk about anything other than how F2P friendly they are. And the rules are very simple for how I consider their F2P friendliness. Number one would be the gacha quality, which would be how bad or how forgiving the banner system is. That would include pities, raids, and whether dupes matter too much. Number two would be generosity, how many free pulls, premium currency, and rewards the game gives you out over time. Number three, the player maintenance. This means how much daily or weekly effort the game asks from you just to stay relevant. Number four, the endgame accessibility, how realistic it is for free-to-play players to actually clear the important content without needing insane spending. Okay, let's start. The first one would be Dragon Ball Legends. Yes, we have to start with this one. Dragon Ball Legends is one of those games that can be fun in short bursts, but if you're talking about F2P friendliness, it's not exactly kind. The biggest problem is that the game leans heavily into PvP, and PvP in gacha almost always mean one thing: power creeping becomes your worst enemy. I know I made a video on how I said power creeping is not a real issue, but in this case it is. On top of that, the banner system can be very brutal. The rates are tough, and the value of pulling duplicates can make the things even worse for free players. Now, to be fair, the game does give out resources, and if you are very patient, you can save up a decent amount over time. But the issue is not just on how much they give you, it is how far that actually goes. If the meta is consistently shifting, and high value units keep replacing older ones, so while there is a reward income, the overall experience is still harsh. For F2P players who care about PvP, I would put Dragon Ball Legends very low on this list. I would give it a 2 out of 10. Fate Grand Order is a very strange case, because in one way it's very awful to F2P players, but in another it is not nearly as bad as it first looks. The gacha system is rough, very rough. The rates are bad, PT is huge, and the game does not exactly shower you with premium currency. If you are a collector, this is brutal, because wanting a character and actually getting them are two completely different things in FGO. But here is the thing, the game itself is not especially punishing in terms of endgame power checks. A lot of content can be cleared with low rarity servants, strong planning, and good team building. That makes the gameplay side more forgiving than the banner side. So if you only care about playing the story and clearing the content, Fate Grand Order is more manageable than people expect. But if you are someone who wants to collect a lot of limited servant, then the game becomes more of a nightmare fest. This is why I would not rank it very high, 4 out of 10. Next up is Zenless Zone Zero, which is the easier game to maintain day by day, and that is one of its biggest strengths. The dailies are very quick, events are usually accessible, and it does not ask nearly as much time from you as other games do. For a lot of players, that alone gives it more value. The gacha system is also fairly standard, and not especially cruel by modern gacha standard. The issue is less about the system itself and more about how much value you are getting long term compared to what you actually need to stay competitive. If you are a casual player, Zenless can feel very comfortable. If you are someone trying to optimize every little thing, it can become a demanding nightmare. The game is not heavily power creeped in the same way that others are, which helps a lot. But it is still one of those games where gacha and team building structure can quietly pressure you into pulling more than you want. So overall, 6 out of 10. Now this one might surprise a lot of people. Next up is Honkai Star Rail. This one sits in a weird middle zone. On the surface, it feels pretty F2P friendly, because the game does give out a decent amount of pulls. Events are very easy to complete, and daily keep up is not too painful. You can log in, do your dailies without even burning your stamina. You can clear events and move on without spending your entire evening in the game. That part is very nice, and the auto battle is very optimized. The problem is what happens at the higher end. Character dependence matters a lot here. Some units want very specific team team setups, and many characters feel much better when fully invested. That creates strong pressure to not only pull just one character but a whole package around them. The relic system also adds a bit of a layer of pain. If you ever farmed relics for a long time and end up with nothing useful, you already know what kind of problem this is. And it's not just RNG. So while the game is not horrible for F2P players, it still has a fairly high barrier when it comes to making the characters feel strong enough for harder content. 6 out of 10. Now this one is going to give me in a lot of trouble. Genshin Impact is not the worst gacha system in existence, but it is definitely not friendly either. The character banner does have pity, which helps, but the weapons banner 75% pull ratio, not a guaranteed, is a problem here. I'm not complaining, and thank God they added it for the weapons, and we do not have a repeated Staff of Homa incident.
And Staff of Homa is my root motivation, and we're going to bring it home right.
Yes, the game gives you free pulls. Yes, there is exploration currency. Yes, events help. But when you compare the amount of resources to the number of desirable characters the game keeps releasing, it is easy to feel like you're left behind. Maintenance is another mixed bag. Daily tasks are very quick. But if you want to fully explore the world and squeeze every reward out of it, that will take a lot of time. A lot of players enjoy it, but for others, it starts to feel more like work than entertainment. Endgame accessibility is another issue. You can absolutely clear content as F2P players, but the game has slowly become less forgiving in how it designs newer enemies. Also, the teams and combat expectations. So overall, Genshin is playable for F2P players, but it is not especially generous. 6 out of 10. Now, this is where the trouble starts.
I want problems, always!
Because since I just mentioned Genshin, I have to mention Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves is one of the most debated games on this list. A lot of players would put it much higher, and I get why. The pity is more forgiving than some of the bigger gachas. And I'm only talking about the weapon banner, because the pity is pretty much exactly the same in Genshin. But it does not have the 75-25 for the weapon banner. So the weapon banner is less painful, and the game gives out a decent amount of rewards through event and updates. If I was making this video a year ago, that point would not have been added, and points were deducted for it. But for recent patches, Wuthering Waves have been actually very generous for how many rewards they have been giving out recently. On top of that, the game is more action focused and skill based, which means execution matters more than just raw investment in many situations. That is a huge plus for F2P players. You can still clear everything without having all your characters fully upgraded, but there are still few issues. Some characters are apparently stronger when paired with specific teammates or weapons, which adds pressure to pull more. And you can say that is the case for pretty much every gacha game out there. Yes, but the amount of reward you will be getting from the limited weapon will be much more than any standard weapon or F2P weapon out there. And it can feel like it is trending toward more investment heavy character design. Daily keep up though is manageable, but exploration and resource farming can take a fair amount of time if you always try to keep up with everything. So I would say Wuthering Wave is strong here, but not perfect. 7 out of 10. Now this one might surprise a lot of people. The Battle Cats. This is one of the best F2P friendly gacha style games out there. Yes, the rates can look awful on paper. Yes, the rare units are hard to get. And yes, there is still a lot of luck involved. But the reason this game ranks so high is not because it only depends on the gacha the same way other games do. You can beat a huge amount of the game using free and easily obtained units. A lot of content is built around strategy, timing, and unit use rather than raw spending. That means the game rewards knowledge more than money. It also helps that the game gives out decent amount of resources over time, especially in early and mid game, and it does not really punish you with the same level of monetization pressure as more aggressive games. If you want a game that would respect you as a F2P player more than anything else, the Battle Cat would absolutely deserve to be up there. 8 out of 10. The gacha in solo leveling Arise is one of the biggest things people talk about. On paper, the rates are pretty standard. The pity system helps a bit, there is also 50-50, but there is one thing interesting about the game. The limited banners, after a couple of patches, convert into the standard banner, and that is unique to the game itself. No other game have that same system, at least to my knowledge. So for F2P value, you can get any character no matter what time it is if you wait long enough. The roster for the standard characters is insane. The game is very generous with the pulls. The auto battle helps, and they keep on giving rewards through codes, and some of those codes will be specifically designed for you through creator content support. For the endgame, solo leveling Arise can feel pretty fair early on, but later on, progress starts to depend on more your your account is invested. That means better pulls, better builds, and better upgrades. And this is where F2P players can feel squeezed, but they can reach that endgame with ease, still on auto battle, if they wait enough for the character, and they can pick any character that they want for the guaranteed. You can select 4 of any of the game's roster. So for this one, I would also give it an 8 out of 10, which is very weird to say for a Netmarble game. Now for the second edition from Kuro Games, Punishing Grey Raven, which is one of the better examples of a game which actually understands F2P players. The gacha is much more forgiving than big games. The pity systems are solid, and the game is built around in a way that lets players do most of the heavy lifting, so skill-based designs matters a lot. If a game lets you clear content through actual gameplay, instead of just forcing you to brute force every problem with more spending, then it automatically becomes friendlier to F2P players. The game also gives out respectable amount of resources, and while maintenance can still take some time, it is not overly demanding compared to a lot of games. 8.5 out of 10. And here we are. If you want a gacha game that is actually generous to free players without feeling sloppy, we're talking about Arknights. Not Enfield, the OG. Gacha system is still luck-based, of course, but the game gives out free resources over time that F2P players can stay very competitive. It also helps that the game does not rely on endless power creep in the same way that other games do. A lot of units remain useful, and even low rarity characters can still do serious work depending on how you build them. That's a huge plus. Daily keep up is also reasonable, and the game does not force you into huge grind to stay relevant. Another big factor is the game content is more about strategy than raw status checks. That means intelligent play matters a lot, and free players can make great progress without needing to own every new character. For F2P friendliness, OG Arknights is easily near the top. 8.5 out of 10. I also want to mention a few games that could have made it on the list depending on how strict you want to be. That would include games like Reverse 1999, After Nowhere, Limbus Company, and few others could definitely be argued into different spots depending on whether you care more about generosity, pity, or endgame pressure. There is always edge cases in this list. There is no ranking like this, and again, I'm not trying to rank this in any way, shape, or form, but the list to me is perfect. And someone may ask, why did you not include games like NTE? The reason is that the game is very new, and I cannot make any comments on it because, of course, they have to be generous to get players coming to them. But if that generosity keeps on going on, at that point, I would make an updated list. So at this point, from what we know and how generous they have been so far, I would give it an 8 out of 10. But it is not included in the list. Some games are brutal, some are workable, and a few actually do a pretty good job for F2P players. At the end of the day though, all I have to say is play whatever you want to play. Play the game you want to enjoy, and play the game that respects your time most, whether it is from the big 3 or just a 2D game that you really enjoy. Anyway, that was it for me. If you enjoyed my videos, please don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe, and see you guys next time.